Well, hello everybody. I am Louise Eddington. I am the Cosmic Owl of Cosmic Owl Astrology. And before I go any further, if you aren't already, could I ask you to subscribe to my YouTube channel? And if you like my videos, maybe check the little bell so you get notified when I upload new content. I am doing a lot more video these days, so please give it a watch and maybe give it a thumbs up too. But moving on, today I'm going to talk to you about Ceres Retrograde. Ceres is one of my favourite topics to talk about, Ceres and Venus. And Ceres is about to go retrograde. And I happen to think it's a pretty important retrograde, and I think Ceres for journey is in our charts and mundanely, collectively, is a really important one. Now, Ceres was discovered on January the 1st, 1801, right in the middle of the Industrial Revolution. And she was first designated as an asteroid. She's asteroid number 1. But in, Eris, the discordant one who's been shaking up everything, was discovered in 2005 and classified as a dwarf planet in 2006. At that time, Ceres was promoted to a dwarf planet as well, and Pluto was demoted to dwarf planet. So to my mind, this actually makes Ceres dwarf planet number 1. Now, other things, we've been working with Ceres for quite a while, and one of my other theories is that Ceres' position in our zodiac, in our solar system, we have the sun, and then we have Mercury, Venus, then the Earth with the moon going around it. And then we have Mars, which was said to be the last of the personal planets before the asteroid belt. Now, Ceres is not quite in the asteroid belt, actually. If you look at her orbit, she is actually just orbiting just within the asteroid belt. Now, interestingly, she was goddess of the grain and the harvest, and Mars was also the guardian of agriculture. So these two, Mars and Ceres, are on the outer edges of our solar system before the asteroid belt and before we go to the transpersonal planets and beyond, and the whole new range of dwarf planets. Now, one of my other reasonings for kind of thinking she is actually a personal planet and she is a part of us, the great mother that we have not kind of really acknowledged and honoured, is another way of putting it, is something that came to me. We have, I live in the land of the Mormon Church, the Church of the Latter-day Saints, and at one point, one of my daughters went and got her on the list for the missionaries to come and talk to all the time. And the missionaries came round one day and they were talking to my daughter, and being the protective mother, because she was fairly young at the time, I went down and was standing there in the background listening to them. There was 2 young missionaries and their bishop, because they don't allow the young missionaries to talk to young women alone. Anyway, I kind of stood there, and so when they'd all finished, I was like, okay. They've been talking about God the Father this, God the Father that. I was like, what about God the Mother? How does she in all this? And they gave me this explanation that the God the Mother, or the Mother Goddess, whatever, was so precious that she was protected and kept hidden by God the Father, because she was too precious to be active out in the world. In other words, she was kind of in the God home somewhere, whatever. I kind of got their explanation. Anyway, This got me to thinking about Ceres, how she's been hiding in plain sight. She was always there, of course, and first she was discovered and shown as an asteroid, and then she was promoted to a dwarf planet. And she is really the first of the dwarf planets, and kind of she is our guardian between our inner solar system of our personal planets and then the asteroid belt and beyond to the transpersonal planets and the trans-Neptunian planets. We've got a whole load of dwarf planets now discovered. I also think it's significant that Ceres was discovered in the middle of the industrial age, because really Ceres is very much connected with how we treat the land and what nourishes us and what feeds us, and how we nourish and feed others, and how we nourish and feed our own great mother, the earth. Okay, and it's pretty evident that the industrial age has accelerated a lot of the problems that we have with climate change. And Ceres was discovered, and she was there kind of, she's a little bit of a vengeful, rageful goddess when she's not honoured. The whole story of Demeter and Persephone, or Ceres and Persephone, was one where she killed the harvest because she was in such grief that her daughter had run off or been kidnapped and gone down into the underworld to be the bride of Hades or Pluto. So, if she's unhappy, she can be kind of a destroyer goddess. And here she was discovered in the industrial age, and since the industrial age, we're having bigger and bigger storms, hurricanes, bigger and bigger desertification of land, water shortages, all that. You kind of know what's going on in the world. And I kind of feel like it's time to honour Ceres. Now, all of this is very much in a nutshell. I've done a whole presentation about her history and all things like that. But another thing about why she's been hiding in plain sight is that Ceres statues are absolutely everywhere. Here in the US, at least, they're on many of the government buildings as goddess of the grain and agriculture. But nobody's really paid attention to that. It's just these statues, Here she is. She's been kind of watching over what we do on this earth all the time, and how we nourish ourselves and feed ourselves, and how we nourish and feed the earth, and how we nourish and feed each other. So all this to say that Ceres is about to go retrograde. All right. Ceres is about to go retrograde in Gemini at 12 degrees of Gemini. And I also have a theory that Venus and Ceres are mother-daughter. Okay, Venus is Persephone. Okay, and Pluto is, of course, Venus's other half, Persephone. Bear with me with this argument. And here we have Venus, very personal planet, our innocence, also our earthly desires. Venus represents it. Then we have Ceres, kind of guardian of all these personal planets. And then we have Pluto out there as a transpersonal planet, and Ceres standing guard against Pluto or Hades. And of course, Ceres and Pluto are in that dance where they became equal. They become dwarf planets after Eris' discovery. And these three, Venus, Pluto and Ceres, are very important because the three of them are actually going to be exactly conjunct at 0 Aquarius on December the 7th, 2024. And we've just had the Saturn-Pluto conjunction on December the 21st, 2020, which, Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, the Great Conjunction, leading to 200 years of air great conjunctions that happen every 20 years, with new ways of thinking, new inventions, new ways of doing things. And here's Venus, Pluto and Ceres all going to meet there at that point too. Incidentally, Mars and Venus will meet at that point as well on in March 2022, 0 Aquarius. And we're moving into the age of Aquarius. It's kind of clear we are at some point, and I think all this activation of 0 Aquarius is really important. So why do I think this this Ceres retrograde is very important? Well, because it crosses the nodes. It crosses the North Node. Now, on July the 31st of this year, 2021, Ceres moved into Gemini. On August the 24th, Ceres was conjunct the North Node in Gemini. And then now she has moved to 12 degrees of Gemini, which incidentally is conjunct the point of the Venus star point of June the 3rd last year. So she is activating a Venus point here. Okay, the Venus star point is where the Sun and Venus meet, either in the middle of the retrograde or when Venus and the Sun are direct. They cross each other's path. Well, when Venus was retrograde last year, and incidentally, I do my Venus retrograde class, very celebrated. Got another one coming up. I'll put a link below if you want to check it out and have a look. It's amazing. But anyway, and well, let's talk about Ceres for now. But Ceres is activating that point. So she's harking back to 2020, June the 3rd, 2020. When, you know, really Ceres was part of the whole COVID cluster, I think Anna and Ortley's called it, where we had Saturn and Pluto and Sun and Mercury and Ceres all conjunct in Capricorn in January of 2020, all square to Eris, starting this crazy time that we're in, which is another kind of destroyer thing, if you think of Ceres as the destroyer goddess. Okay, saying, look at what you've done, look what you've done by interfering and not honouring, okay, and not honouring what nurtures, what feeds you, all that kind of stuff. So Ceres has been doing this journey, okay, and now she has moved from Capricorn last year to Gemini, and now she's going to go retrograde, and she's going to be retrograde till February. But it's an important retrograde because, so let me give you some dates. She stations retrograde on October the 8th at 12 degrees 8 minutes of Gemini. On that day, Pluto squares Eris. And remember, Ceres was conjunct Pluto back in January 2020. And in Gemini, this is a Mercury-ruled sign, and it's where we've got the North Node and where we've been asked to rethink and open our minds and reimagine what community is and what it means to be on this earth. And Gemini is asking us, Ceres in Gemini is asking us to rethink our whole relationship with what feeds and nurtures and nourishes us. Okay. She's also very much associated with grief. So, you know, this whole period that Ceres is going to go retrograde in Gemini, I think there will be a lot of grief come up, and she is going to be activating our brain. And what have we learned? That's very Gemini as well. So she goes retrograde on October the 8th. Of course, Mercury, Gemini's ruler, is also retrograde. And Mercury went retrograde square to Pluto and Eris. So we've got this whole dance going on. So that's the first date. Okay. Then on October the 13th, Mercury will trine Mercury retrograde will trine Ceres still at 12 degrees. And Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, the sign that Ceres is in. Rethink, revisit, recreate, reimagine our whole relationship with the earth. Then on October the 18th, Venus will have moved into Sagittarius by then. And Venus will oppose Ceres on October the 18th at 11 degrees and 51 minutes of Sagittarius and Gemini. And now we know 11 is a gateway number, but I've mentioned already that Venus and Ceres are in this dance, a mother-daughter dance, and here they are opposing each other, looking at each other. And incidentally, Venus will have just gone over the South Node, saying, let go of some of these earthly desires and move towards a more simple life. Not only this though, October the 18th is the day that Mercury stations direct. So Mercury's been doing this dance. Mercury rules the sign that Ceres is in. It's also the day that Jupiter stations direct in Aquarius. So that's another really big day, October the 18th, of rethinking where we're going for the future. Then we take a gap. Ceres makes some minor aspects, but the next big day is November the 8th in her retrograde. On November the 8th, Ceres has moved back to 9 Gemini by this point, and Chiron in Aries will sextile Ceres, and Pallas Athena, the problem solver. So we've got Chiron, the key to healing, the wounded healer in Aries, and Pallas Athena in Pisces, the problem solver, both aspecting Ceres, saying, come on, rethink how we do the healing. Let's solve these problems of climate change. And I must admit, some of this gives me hope for some of these bills that are being passed, or that are attempting to be passed in the US legislature, that we are going to rethink how we approach climate change. Okay. On November the 14th, Ceres has moved back to 7 Gemini, and Saturn will trine Ceres, saying, build the future. Saturn in Aquarius, saying, build new inventions, new ways of doing things. Incidentally, if you want a great book for rethinking how we create a greener future, Cradle to Cradle is a really good one. I've just finished listening to it. But Saturn will trine Ceres, and that is a really pivotal point as well. But more importantly, we get to December. December the 12th, Ceres will cross the North Node again at 1 Gemini. And Ceres, Ceres is heading back into Taurus, and the nodes are moving into Taurus and Scorpio. So this is kind of the last blast with Ceres crossing the North Node at 1 Gemini. 1, the number of new beginnings. Both retrograde at this point, of course. The nodes, the nodes are direct on that day, but that they swap. I use the true nodes, they swap around a little bit. But this is kind of saying, okay, the North Node's been in Gemini since May of 2020 and been asking us to rethink all these things and to think differently and to open our minds and rethink what community is about as well. This is our future. This is the North Node. Let go of those old beliefs and rigid old beliefs in Sagittarius and move forward and change minds, okay, change perspectives. And Ceres will be conjunct the North Node, saying, okay, here's your chance to really rethink. Then on December the 14th, 2 days later, Mars will be in Sagittarius by now, catching up to Venus, by the way, and will oppose Ceres too. So first we have Venus, then we have Mars. And remember, Mars is the god of agriculture. or the guardian of agriculture, and Ceres is the goddess of the grain. So here they are facing off to each other on the nodes, really, because there's only 2 days there. Mars and saying, rethink all of this, rethink our relationship with all of these planets within the asteroid belt, all the personal planets, and bring up the goddess again, bring up the more nurturing, bring up the more caring, loving, everything that we have, okay, and rethink how we do it. So this dance is quite amazing to me. And then on December the 15th, Mars will pass the south node, let go of those old beliefs, move to that north node in Gemini before the nodes change signs. On December the 21st, Ceres will move back into Taurus. Taurus being really about our bodies, the earth, the material world, and it's a Venus-ruled sign, so there's Venus again. And Ceres is revisiting her time in Taurus, saying, what have we learned? What have we learned in Gemini, and how are we going to apply this to this revisiting of Taurus? On January the 1st, 2022, Mercury trines Ceres again. Mercury has moved on quite a lot by that point. Mercury has moved all the way around to Capricorn and will trine Ceres, going, come on, build, time to rethink, build, all that kind of stuff. Then we have a little dance going on in January with Sedna. Ceres crosses Sedna again twice, on January the 4th and January the 23rd. And Sedna is very much to do with climate change. And so here we have kind of the Earth Guardian goddess and the climate change dwarf planet meeting at 28 degrees of Taurus, saying, come on, this is your spiritual destiny. And we're in a crisis. Sedna is spiritual destiny through crisis. We're in this climate crisis. Have we learned? Are we going to do anything differently? Then on January the 14th, Ceres stations direct. All right. She stations direct at 27 degrees and 57 minutes of Taurus, and starts to move back towards Gemini. And as I said, at that point, you know, she will cross Sedna again. But on January the 18th, the North Node moves back into Taurus. And Ceres and the North Node, they met at 1 degree Gemini, remember? They meet again on January the 31st at 28 degrees and 52 minutes of Taurus, while Sedna is also at that 28 degree mark of Taurus. Huge, in my opinion. And then she's going to track back into Gemini and hopefully start to put into practice the things we've learned through all this period. Okay. Now, I just think this point is a pivotal point for climate change. Of course, the story never ends. The planets keep on turning and moving. And I do think some resolution is going to come in 2024. But I think this Ceres retrograde going over this North Node is really, really important. Now, the area of life that it will be affecting for you is an area that's been a real hot potato for about 1.5 years, while the nodes and the eclipses and everything have been in the signs of Sagittarius and Gemini. So just a quick run through of what that might mean for you. Is if you are Aries or Aries rising, this will be in area of learning, communication, local community as well, perhaps your siblings, all right. That's the area of life this retrograde is affecting. If you're a Taurus, this will be your self-esteem, your self-worth, and your relationship with the natural world, okay, the physical world and nature itself. If you are Gemini or Gemini rising, this is about who you are in the world. You know, Gemini is the communicator. Are you going to speak up for climate change? Are you going to speak up for the planet? Are you going to say, this is who I am, this is my role in life? If you're Cancer or Cancer rising, this is more of a spiritual journey for you, a more inward journey. You might move to be more protective to those you love and your family and your home. And Leo or Leo rising, this is really about groups and causes and organizations. All right, that's who it is for you. And it's also kind of the bigger message, the World Wide Web, that you'll be feeling this change coming in. If you're Virgo or Virgo rising, this is your most public self, and how you are of service to the publicly and your reputation. You may make your work more about helping the earth and doing what you can to conserve and nourish the earth and ourselves. If you're Libra or Libra rising, this is about teaching, the guru. You know, this is, you know, you might say, hey, it's time really to, you know, to learn these higher lessons and to teach others as well. If you're Scorpio or Scorpio rising, this is probably a very deep inner journey that you will share with those that you are most deeply bonded relationships with. If you're Sagittarius or Sagittarius rising, this may have a lot to do with who you work with and your significant relationships in life. You know, there may be a lot of compromise and let's come together and find some harmony and balance and some mediation. If you're Capricorn or Capricorn rising, this is really about your work and how you serve through your work. You know, a lot of people are searching for more meaningful work now with the changing times, and Capricorn, this especially applies to you. If you're Aquarius or Aquarius rising, this is your creative self-expression. This is finding what brings you joy and what feeds you your creative self-expression, okay, and what feeds your joy. If you're Pisces or Pisces rising, this is about the home and your inner home and life. This is about protecting your home and protecting your inner life, and probably kind of battening down the hatches a little bit and maybe becoming more self-sufficient so that you can just hide out at home and that will feed and nourish your soul. So I hope you found this helpful. This whole series period, you know, again, she stations retrograde on October the 8th and she stations direct on January the 14th. It's going to be a pretty pivotal period. During this period, we also have all the planets in the Draconic Bowl. So Ceres is a part of that. When she moves past that North Node, the Draconic Bowl is going to open up. Now, the Draconic Bowl is often has been associated with periods of more severe lockdowns in the pandemic. I'm not saying we're actually going to have, you know, government run lockdowns, but you may feel a bit more lockdown through this winter, and then I think things are going to start emerging and blossoming as Ceres moves beyond the North Node and things start to open up again in at the end of January. So give me a thumbs up, don't forget to subscribe, leave me comments. I love to hear from you. Have a great day.